Okay, we've just finished spraying. Let's get the machine cleaned up, back to smart hire. We've just finished spraying. I'll run you through the cleanup process now. Please put aside 10 to 15 minutes to do this really thoroughly. So when you take it back to smart hire, it's gonna be nice and clean and ready to go again. First step, let's take the tip and guard off the gun. Make sure the gun safety is on. And we're gonna put the handpiece aside for the first step of flushing out the machine. So right now we have our main suction tube and drain tube in the paint. Our very first step is we're gonna prime out the existing paint back into the drum and try and save as much material as what we can. So first thing we'll do is we'll take the drain tube off and we'll actually keep this in the paint drum. Next step, we'll take our suction tube here. You can see we've got a little bit of paint left over at the bottom. And we can actually use our waste pail and a bit of water here. Just make sure that paint's come out. So make sure the unit is in the prime position, the pressure's down, so that way we're not gonna accidentally trigger the pump. We're gonna take our suction tube from the paint to our waste pail, and we're gonna take some water and actually just rub down the bottom of the strainer and the suction tube. If we were to put this straight into the clean water, what would happen is the paint would actually dilute straight away and we'll just keep flushing through murky, clean water. Now we're also gonna use just this little bit of water here in the waste pail to get a bit of the paint back into the drum. Make sure the machine's in prime, and what we'll do is we'll jog this only for a few seconds to get out our straight paint. So you can feel straight away when the change in thickness happens from paint to water. Right now, whatever paint was left over in the pump, I've primed out back into the drum. So I can leave this here for a second, and our next step is we're gonna recover any paint that's actually in the hose line too. So take our gun safety off. We'll make sure that we're in prime, no pressure. We'll trigger on the gun. We're gonna put the machine into spray, and then at a very low pressure, we're just gonna jog the rest of the paint that's in the line out until it switches to water. Just make sure your hand here is on the pressure dial. Right now, that is more than enough. I could feel straight away the paint change in thickness to water. Put the gun lock on, I turn my pressure all the way down, and I put it back into prime. Now that's it, done with the paint. We can actually put the lid back on now and put this away. Put your drain tube in the waste pail for a second. Let's move this out of the way. Our next step here is to get our clean water in our waste pail and start cycling this through until it's running nice and clear, following that exact same step. So I'll take our suction tube out of the waste pail, which is mixed with a bit of water. I'll put it into our nice clean drum of water. Got my prime tube here. I'm gonna get the water priming through. Have a rag handy or a wipe, so that way you can keep nice and clean while you're working. Holding the drain tube, we're gonna run some pressure through. I'm just gonna let it prime for about 10 to 15 seconds. Again, same process, turn that off. What we'll do now, take the gun lock off, trigger the gun on, put it into spray and work the pressure up. And now we'll keep following this process. Run at least 10 to 15 litres, if not more, through the machine now. We'll make sure it's nice and clean. I'll touch base with you once this is done. Now that we're running clean water, one of the last steps is we're gonna reattach our spray tip and our guard, and we're gonna make sure that we blast the tip out with some water before we store it. So let's get our tip and guard. Let's attach this back on. Again, when we last sprayed, this has actually still got paint in it, and it's pretty simple. If you've got a bit of grass or some masked up area that you can actually spray on, we're gonna put the machine into the spray position, work our pressure up, and it's simple. We're just gonna make sure that, again, our tip is blown out and it's spraying with water just fine. I've just done about 10 to 15 litres flush through the machine, so I know that's nice, clean water that, again, I can spray into grass. You'll see straight away. Do a bit of a test and make sure that the water isn't murky. It must be running clean before you take it back to smart hire. Simple as that. That's a spray tip and spray guard now cleared out. Very final step, we're gonna use pump armor, which is a storage fluid in the machine now. So let's put that in the rest of our nice clean water and we'll get it priming through. It doesn't need to go through the hose line. So you may have a bottle that looks a bit different, but this is Graco's pump armor and it just stops the machine from rusting. All we need to do in the last clean batch of water, just as you've finished flushing, we're gonna pour a small amount in, just like using a bit of car wash in a bucket. Give that a mix around and it only needs to be primed through the machine. So we'll put the machine in prime, make sure our pressure's all the way down. We're just gonna make sure that you can see here, we're gonna prime it through until it's nice and blue. There you go, that's running nice and blue now. So we're gonna turn the pressure down. You don't have to run it through the gun itself. So now that's in prime, our pressure's down. We know that pump arm is in the pump. That's it, you're done. You can take this back now to Smart Hire. Make sure that the machine is turned off. You're transporting with no pressure on the line. Transport the unit in the spray position so that way it doesn't leak out the hose, the suction tube, sorry. Let's put that aside here. Wrap up the hose and we're all ready to go. Thanks so much. I hope you had a great experience spraying and we'll catch you next time.